Okay, we finished basically that malacha of tzeveya. So next malacha we're going to learn is what's called mamachik, which means scraping. Now in times of the Bais Din, they used to scrape the hides when they needed to take the hides of the animal and to make it into leather, so they had to scrape it. So therefore the malach of scraping min ha-Torah is any type of material. For instance, hides of an animal is scraping. Stone, like if you're making the rough surface of a stone, you're making it smooth, so you're scraping away from the stone, that's also min ha-Torah. Wood is also, like if somebody sands down wood, or there's a rough spot on the wood and you're taking it off to smoothen it out, that's also the malach mamachik, and leather we'll soon see. So those are the materials, whether it's hide, stone, wood, leather. Metal is just realistically not practical that you're going to be scraping off metal. I mean, you need massive machinery. What? Sharpened knife would also be part of that malacha, correct. Now, when you have, let's say, shoes, right? So shoes is leather. What happens, a lot of times you get mud at the bottom, and you walk into dirt, whatever. You get mud at the bottom of your shoe. So what you do is you take a sharp, whatever it is, a sharp, whether it's a step or a sharp area that's metal, and you scrape off the mud from your shoes. Okay? So if you scrape it hard, that you're actually scraping off leather also from it, even if it's a very small amount, a minute amount of leather, it's still scraping. But if you don't scrape it, let's say you clean it off on the sidewalk or something like that, but you have to be very careful because there's a din like this. In Shabbos, there's a lot of different dinim. If somebody has dried mud at the bottom of their shoe and they scrape it off, that's called the din of grinding. Because grinding biblically refers to anything that comes from the ground. Not only things that grow from the ground, but ground itself is also applies the dinim of grinding. Now grinding is when you take something and you grind it into small particles. So if you have dried mud at the bottom of your shoe or anywhere, and you scrape it off, so number one, you're doing mamachik if you're doing it hard against the shoe. But you're definitely doing it anyway, the malacha of teichen, you're grinding, and that you wouldn't be allowed to do anyway. But you can do it, let's say, on a piece of wood or a stone, because these materials, halacha says, don't scrape the metal. If it's a sharp piece, don't scrape the bottom of the shoe, the leather. If it's a sharp piece of metal, then it scrapes the leather. If it's like the sidewalk or something like that, then it wouldn't be an issue whatsoever.
You mean the leather of your shoe?
Right, it's going to be rubbing the leather of your shoe, which is scraping.
The bottom of your shoe is plastic. Is that still rubber?
No, well, then it wouldn't be a problem. Not min ha-Torah at least.
And if you have like a little bit of chipped nail and it's really bothering you, you can't file it, right?
That's not the malach of mamachik. That's a level of that's the malach of kaitzer, harvesting.
No, not cutting it, just filing it.
Filing is cutting a nail also.
So if it's bothering you, you can't smooth the...
Not on Shabbos, no. What?
Suppose you have wet mud on your shoes, can you use a short grass to get it off?
Sorry, what? If you have wet mud and?
On your shoes, can you use short grass to get it off? Like you just wipe it off?
Yeah, you could wipe it on the grass.
If your nail is bothering you, can you bite it?
No, it's still us Vaad Rabbonim to bite nails on Shabbos.
People that are addicted to biting, that bite 24 all the time.
People that bite their nails have a problem on Shabbos. So, what?
A lot of people, I've seen very big rabbis who are addicted. I've seen them do it on Shabbos.
Biting the nails? Yeah, I can't speak for them.
Can't control it.
So what can you do?
But halachically, by cutting your nails with a nail clipper or scissors is asur min ha-Torah. If you buy them, it's Vaad Rabbonim. It's still rabbinically forbidden. So nowadays, it's really no difference between biblical. We don't get stoned anyway. We don't bring korbanos anyway. It's still forbidden. Now, what should people do? They can wear gloves the whole day. Well, not outside, but they can wear gloves. They can put something on. What do you want me to do?
I'm saying you should put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah.
Put a Band-Aid to do something that will save it from doing that. Okay. So just because something bothers you doesn't mean you're allowed to desecrate Shabbos.
No, not desecrate Shabbos.
It's desecration Shabbos, rabbinic desecration of Shabbos. It's still desecration of Shabbos.
You can't bite it.
No. You can, if your Band-Aid is bothering you, you could put a Band-Aid on it, but like we learned already, you can't wrap the Band-Aid over itself. You have to do it this way.
Yeah.
That you don't wrap it over yourself.
That'll do it.
That whatever. Then you do it. Okay, part of this malacha of mamachik, which is scraping, that's the original av malacha, is also memareach, which is smoothing. And this is a very, very practical din of smoothing. Memarech, it's called. Which means it's smoothing, and we'll see, the memarech means rubbing or smearing thick substance on something. Okay? So basically the real examples are like beeswax, tar, animal fat. Okay? Those things are also even minatera. So by the way, it's a very interesting, a lot of kids have braces, or adults have braces. And a lot of times you put wax, you smear the wax on the braces that it shouldn't hurt. So on Shabbos, you're not allowed to do that. You know?
Cream cheese or...
1 second, we'll get to food. We're not by food yet, we'll get to food. Okay, you know what? You want to know about food, I'll tell you about food.
Yeah, I like to eat something.
Lesh is hungry.
Now, the Ramah holds that technically smoothing for food is not an issue. But they write that's only if you're smoothing it or smearing it to eat it. If you're smearing it or smoothing it to beautify it, then the Ramah writes, even by food, a machmer tov of bracha, you should be machmer. Which means like this. If you want to smear butter or peanut butter, you want to take a cream cheese, peanut butter, whatever it is, jelly, I mean whatever. So even though you're smearing it, you know, it's not a problem because it's food. It's not smearing it. But they're right, what happens if you're smearing icing on a cake? So you're smearing icing on the cake, it's not to eat it. You're smearing it that it should look, because otherwise you could take a piece of cake and take a little bit of cream, you know, that you're smearing, the icing.
You want to serve it on Shabbat?
There was a Rabbi Yosef Shusterman, the great chassid of the Rebbe Rashav and the Friedrich Rebbe. He came from Europe, he came to America. So he was discussing how corrupt, this is in the 1940s, he's discussing how corrupt America is. He says, you hear what they do? They smear the butter on the bread. Because what these guys used to do in Russia, they had bread and they ate butter, and they had bread and butter, but they didn't, smeared, it should be smeared. He was complaining about how coarse the Jews in America came, that became that they were smearing the butter on the bread. The chutzpah, like how they take a piece of butter and take a piece of bread. So you're saying, but smearing icing on cake to beautify it, that's a question in halacha. I mean, al pidin, it's not forbidden, but the Ramah says you really should be machma. So he'll tell you a different example of this. You make a tuna salad, or you make an egg salad. Right? So you make it, and then you want to serve it, so you smoothen it out just to make it a little bit nicer. Yeah. That is what the Ramah says, you shouldn't do it.
But it's the Hidur Shabbat.
Hidur Shabbat is to eat the food. So if you're mashing it and smearing it for food, then yeah, that's fine. But if you're doing it to beautify it, then it's not food, it's just beautification, and therefore he holds the machmer tov al bracha, it's better to be machmer, not to do it. Not that it's forbidden, But you're right, it's better to be machmir not to do it. That's as far as food things go.
What if you don't do that except for Shabbat, Lichvot Shabbat?
So I'm going to reiterate your question. If somebody only drives on Shabbos, covered Shabbos the rest of the week he walks, but on Shabbos he's going to drive covered Shabbos.
No.
What do you mean no? That's what you're asking. That's exactly what you're asking. Okay, so now, Minatera, it's something which is like beeswax, stick deodorant, desitin, things that are very, hold on their own. Okay? So let's say we were discussing this, let's say you have stick deodorant, right? Or, bottom line halacha is even a bar of soap would be the same thing. But if you have a stick deodorant, and when you rub it, you put it on, so you actually, number one, you're scraping and smearing the hard deodorant. So that wouldn't be allowed. You can use roll-on, you can use spray, things like powder, but what?
No, you can dab it instead of smoothing it.
Yeah, but dabbing, we'll see, it's not so simple by a lot of these things. Of real things which are real forbidden, they say dabbing might lead to smearing, so whatever. We'll get to there. We just started this.
Isn't there any tirchat tzibur, someone says, listen, everybody's miserable, go get some deodorant on Shabbat.
Tirchat tzibur means when you're delaying things and you're keeping the community waiting. It doesn't mean, for the tzad of the community, the pain of the community.
Yeah, for the smell and everybody's
Okay. So time to go to mikveh before Shabbos. Okay, now, things that are not hard like bar of soap or beeswax or desitin or things like that, but something which is less thick. Okay, so as long as it has a creamy nature to it, it's still awesome with Rabbanan to do it. So some of these, let's say these soaps, so you have different types of soaps. You have, let's say, the dish detergent soap, that you wash dishes with, that's not creamy at all. That's mamish liquid. Okay, so I can't say there's no problem. It's interesting. A lot of people say that Moshe Feinstein, they all hold you're not allowed to use liquid soap on Shabbos. Why? Because you're creating bubbles. This is what they hold. We don't possibly say it's a shulchan, others, the Chassidish poskim are much more makel, and we do use liquid soap on Shabbos, but it has to be soap that's mamish liquidy. If it's creamy, a lot of these, the containers that have the thicker soap, so that's a problem unless if you dilute it before Shabbos, then it's diluted, so then it becomes liquidy rather than creamy. But to smear any type of biblical law is permitted to place even a thick, gluttonous substance, providing it doesn't smooth it out. You can just put it on. But the Chacham said that we're afraid that you're going to end up doing smearing it. So therefore, they really shouldn't do it. So, but like certain oil, baby oil, or things like that are mamish liquid, then there's no problem at all doing any of those things at all. What? Any food that you're doing for food, if it's decorating or to beautify it, then but the Rama writes, is machmer tov el bracha, you should be machmer, not to do it. But
Are you allowed to use cologne, which is liquid?
Only for decorations?
if you're allowed to use cologne, how does it get to here? I don't know, but yes, you can use cologne on Shabbos.
Only for decoration?
Now, the Rebbe writes in Hilchos Yom Tov it's better to be machmer, but the poskim write it's allowed. What?
No. Only for decoration you can't smear?
Correct. No, food. No, you can't smear. Period. For food you could smear,
Butter.
but if you're to eat it, you can smear it. But if you're smearing the food for decorative purposes, then we just learned that then you can't do it.